The reason why I asked about like your life outside of YouTube is because you were also an athlete in school. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can. I have no idea how you found that out. I guess I've said it and you just did a good background check. I can't even do that.
Hello, everyone. My name is Casey, and welcome back for another episode of Deep Blue. Joining us today is a guest who explains the lore of many different games, including mobile games, flash games, and board games. We are here brought with Choopo. How are you doing today?
You know what? I'm doing all right. I think. In my humble little opinion.
Doing all right?
Yeah.
So, for anyone that doesn't really know who you are, you want to introduce yourself?
Um. Yeah. So I have about 350k subs recording this. I guess the best way to describe my content would be like edutainment adjacent, as like a stickman-ish channel. I wouldn't necessarily say video essay, but that's generally the idea. A lot of people misspell my name, but it's Choopo if you need to look it up. But it should probably be in the title. So I honestly, that's your own fault if you can't read that. Respectfully, of course.
And you got the name Choopo from Miiverse and PlayStation, and you just stuck with it because it was catchy?
Yeah, that was literally the entire reason. I was like, my old username was on PlayStation was MegaChoop0310, and I was just like, all right, that works. I'll just combine that.
Awesome. And if you, Sisyphus55, Salmonella, Degenerosity, Chains for Real, and Tokamon were all locked in a room, who do you think is going to be the last one to survive?
Can you repeat the roster?
All right, so it's you, Sisyphus55, Salmonella, Degenerosity, Chains FR, and Tokamon.
I mean, I don't know any other like the games 1v1, but honestly, I think Mere Degenerosity, if I'm being honest.
All right, and so like, how is it like being like a faceless like stickman YouTuber? Like, do you ever want people to learn like who you are and like what you do?
That's a good question. I think so. When I was coming into it, I knew that like I didn't really. I'm bad at camera stuff. Was always my thing. I'm bad at camera stuff, and then I see like a lot of liability with face revealing like at the get-go. There's obviously like that thing where it's like, oh yeah, if you face reveal, it'll be like a big deal or whatever. But I think it's just like a cool idea to just not show your face ever. I think it adds more. I think you can characterize more, and I think you can like associate the art separately, I guess. But I just don't really think that for the time being, who I am as a person is necessarily important to the content I make. And yeah, that's kind of the reason why I did it. I also just like the idea of making a character who is like I know is not a me, but more so like a stand-in of me. So that was like part of the reason coming into it. I decided to do that, and then also a lot of the content I watched growing up was it was mostly channels that would, they would be faceless. They would not prioritize face, or they would have like some sort of avatar or something like that. And that ultimately that was just what I wanted to stick with, I think.
So if you were to go to VidCon, because I remember Jaden told me you were in that whole group chat and you were supposed to go, like how would you have presented yourself then?
Well, I think for context, first, should probably tell the audience that that was like Jaden as well talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the plan was I was originally gonna go to VidCon of 23, and I could not go because I double booked by pure chance, and because of that I could not attend like that year. But if I would have done what a few other people would have done, and I would have just gone, honestly, and then they just censor their face and black it out. I think it's entirely possible to go to VidCon and still like be quote unquote anonymous and still be like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. I think it's more so if you're just like normal about it. I think that's like the main thing that faceless channels need to recognize as well. That's like the big thing. If you make a big deal out of a face reveal, then it's going to be a thing that's consistently like a huge deal. I don't necessarily prioritize it. Also, I think it'd be funnier if I just did it without hype or anything.
So what would you say like the difference between you, yourself, and the whole Choopo character is? Are there any different besides like one being a stick man and you being you?
But yeah, that's a good question. So I have like um I how would I describe it? Okay. So it's more like an extension of me, I want to say, where it's just like I guess a Flanderization of myself is a good way to describe it, where it's just like uh it's a character that I have that expresses my emotions a little bit more extremely. And usually I come up with like a joke or a collection of jokes that I just want to follow through on, and then I like over exaggerate it as Choopo. I wouldn't say that I myself am the person, but it's just like a lot of personalities, like just YouTube and media itself, where you look at it and you're like, they're a character, and there has to be that awareness. I think unfortunately, because YouTube's like newer than like TV or movies or whatever, that there still isn't that correlation where people can like extend their character. I think a good example is like Scott the Wise, for example. Like all of his content is known to be like, this is a character. This is a characterized version of himself. I'm doing something like that, I would say. It's more so just me adding more on to the bit.
Do you consider yourself to be like a good artist or animator? Because more than just a stickman, like you've had like at the start of your channel, you had like an animation series, and like all your video essays contain like visuals, and of course you're like, I guess your webcam or your stickman, like at least those shots, like they also have a bunch of like detailed backdrops. So would you consider yourself like a good artist or animator?
I would consider myself a competent artist to an extent. I always had shaky hands, so I kind of thought coming into it it'd be funnier to just make that part of my brand. Just see where that takes me. I guess is the best way to describe it. I have decent composition skills in my work, but it's never been like on a professional level, I would say. And same goes with animation. Honestly, stickman channels are very similar to PNG tubers is the best way to describe it. Where it's just like the Choopo character itself is just a collection of layers, like 80 or so layers of like arms and body and eye movements, and then I just flip them through a bunch of frames in each video.
So is like YouTube like a full-time thing for you, or is it just like a side project? Like eventually Chupo will end, or no? Is like yeah.
Um, this is a good question I've always kind of thought about. Right now, I'm a student, and I've been at it for a couple of years. Coincidentally, right when I got into school, my first video that like got me monetized, it was Bizarre Lore of Papa's Games. I think that's 6,500,000 views at the time of making this. Um, that popped off like right when I started a school year, so I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to get a part-time job while I'm studying. I think that's neat. That was like the main thing I was worried about. I'm just like juggling it. I mean there was a lot of effort. There's a lot of unlisted videos that are no longer available to the general public. But how do I describe it? Choopo started out as like every week I would upload a PlayStation video. I would edit it on a PS4 and my phone, and then I would just share it with my friends, and then and then eventually I chose to make them public. And then I was at like 400 subs, and then I'm like, oh wait, I actually enjoy doing this. Maybe I could go further out of this and make it a living. So I kind of just had I had to learn by myself, and eventually it did become I would technically say it's full time, but just because of the amount of hours I put in on a weekly basis, but it's also not like full time. You know, I'm juggling a lot right now, but that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, how are you balancing that like school and being a YouTuber? Because I imagine you have to like upload consistently too, and of course manage with all the assignments and such.
Yeah, so spreadsheets for are they work wonders if you know what you're doing with them. I'm okay with them, but really I just have like this giant Excel sheet where I have all my video ideas, all my like here's what I gotta do today type things, and I put all of those out, and no, I like split up the video process into scripting, audio, the art segment, and the editing itself. So, and I'm like, I want to get at least one thing done a day, every day, and I've been doing that for like 2 years now, with really the only exceptions being like major holidays like Christmas. And then I do the same thing with school, where it's just, let's say I have 6 classes this semester. I'm like, okay, today I want to get all of this class done for the week, or as much of it as possible. And I kind of split it like that.
Do you do anything else outside of YouTube in school? Or is it just like those main two? Like you like go out once in a while?
Oh yeah, no, I'm in a decent amount of events. I would say, I mean, I have been traveling a lot this year. Besides VidCon, there was a few places, a few conventions I was at. I thought that was funny because I love going to conventions and then just being like, just being there and having people talk about this stuff. Unironically, I was at a Comic-Con in like September, and somebody recognized me by my voice, like not even knowing that I was there on my face. So I guess I will get to the point where eventually I might just be like, as quote unquote face reveal by force. But it's, you know, I'm just a fella like everybody else, I think.
Mm-hmm. What happened after that interaction with the fan? Like they just recognized your voice and was like, "Hey, are you Choopo?"
I literally did like a Santa thing where I'm like, shh, don't tell anybody. And you know that does it. It was like a mutual trust thing where it's like, hey, I would appreciate it if you didn't do that. And then they went, all right, that's fair.
Is that the only time that's happened, or if like, have you had other times where someone like went up to you and is like, "Hey, I recognize your voice. Are you a stick man on YouTube who explains video games?"
I would say that's like the first time that happened to me. I don't. I think that's such a wild claim to do in any other environment, but like at a Comic-Con, I guess that makes sense. Just because it's, you know, it's where all those rotten dweebs hang out, so it makes.
Well, like your personal friends and family, do like they have like any idea of you doing YouTube?
I was pretty open about it. I had to explain. I had to explain to my mom. I'm like, hey, I intentionally did not tell my family until I got monetized, so I could show them the first paycheck, and then they would be like, "Oh, okay, carry on," because that was like how I was able to convince that it was like acceptable. I was just like, "Oh, I had to do the this is my company angle," and I think that kind of helped me get some leverage with like explaining it to my family, and that I would say that helped out in the long run. I mean, otherwise they do a pretty good job respecting my personal boundaries with it, where I'm just like, please do not tell too many people, and it's just like a mutual trust thing, I guess. But I would say overall it's been doing pretty well.
You want to be like, you wanted to say like what you're doing in college right now, like major wise.
Yeah,
like,
so I'm
career path wise. Yeah,
I can do that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna provide where I'm going, but I am currently studying finance, and it's just like a good double major. I think I'll be in school for about 2 more years from the time of recording this, I would say. And I think at minimum, my goal is just to stay in school until I'm done with or no, sorry. I want to like stay committed to YouTube alongside it for as long as possible. As long as people keep enjoying the videos, there's no reason for me not to keep doing it. I don't really want to have like any ill intention in any of my videos or anything like that. But at the same time, I just think like at the very least, that's what I want to do, I guess.
You have
Hopefully
like a
that makes sense.
career path like after college, like besides YouTube.
That's a good question. I've thought about it a lot. I'm not like super concerned because YouTube's starting to become more normalized. It's starting to become like its own industry. That like people are getting recognized. Like this year alone, I look at a bunch of channels that are starting to get like very successful or just like celebrity icons in the past few years. Like I look at Mr. Beast and Kaizenat, regardless of how you feel about them, they're like they are reaching a status to where they are like just A-list celebrities, and that's starting to be a little bit more normalized. So honestly, I think I could continue pursuing it. The good thing about the two places I'm majoring in is that both of them, to an extent, are used in what I like to do, and that's kind of helped me like stay motivated as well in school because I'm like, oh, I learned new skills.
So the reason why I asked about like your life outside of YouTube is because you were also an athlete in school. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can. I have no idea how you found that out. I guess I've said it and you just did a good background check. I can't even be mad. It's probably uh yeah. So I was an okay athlete type at school. I was like, all right, my height. I revealed it recently, and this is true. I am like roughly 6'4". I think I'm a little bit taller. So because of that, I was like, I already had some benefits. I did soccer because I was just like a decent wall or defense. So if I went back, I probably would have done like track and field more. I had this one good story where I was like, I think it was my last year. Yeah, it was. Okay, I never did high jump, and I don't know if you're familiar with high jump. It's just like, get over the pole, and there's like a whole form to it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So being 6'4" with that, I was like relatively thin. I wouldn't say like underweight, but I was enough to where it was like not an issue. I got over it on accident on my first attempt, and I got put straight into counties. But I mean, yeah, overall, I was just an okay athlete in that regard. I don't really talk about school that much, just because I don't know, and nothing too great came out of school. I'd say I'm doing much better now. That's not to say that you can't, but yeah, that just happened to me.
Are you still into sports now?
Not to the level I was. I think now that I have like this whole thing going on, and I feel like I have more of a purpose now to like entertain others and kind of make them feel better when maybe they need someone else to help them out or to listen to. I I remember being in a lot of tough spots growing up, and I liked making content because that made me. Yeah, I liked having these jokes. I liked having some sort of legacy, and when I get comments that people like going back to my stuff and rewatch it, or it like lifts their spirits up for the day or makes them feel better, that's what I work for. Just creating something of value like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really glad you said that because like I told you in the Discord messages, like last year or maybe even like longer than that, like one of your videos got recommended to me. It probably was the Papa one, but I think it might have been that one or another video from like after that. But yeah,
If it was 22, I would say it was for sure Papa. But if it was 23, it could be. I did really well in 20 this year compared to 2023. I get them mixed up just because Papa's was the only successful one in 2022, or like really really successful.
Yeah, I'd say like early 2023 was when I started watching you. Yeah, but yeah, like your stuff was like just like I was just binging your stuff. It was just like, man, this stuff is really entertaining. It's like I'm getting like a huge nostalgia boost from like games I used to play back in like when I was like 11. And now there's this YouTuber with a very energetic personality and like just like a good sense of humor, just being like explaining all these games. So I think, yeah, I'm just really glad you like mentioned like how like that praise is like a big thing for you.
Yeah. No, it's nice to see. That was always the intention coming into it. That was the original plan with my friends. I started the channel in January of 2021 because it was post-pandemic. All my friends were bored. We were getting on PlayStation every day, and I'm like, okay, this is and I kept seeing Instagram memes where it was just people like reminiscing about their old Xbox game chats and stuff. So I did like to create that, so we all had something to laugh over, and it helped them feel better. They were hyping me up as like the weeks went on. Like every video, they're like, "Oh, are you doing a Grand Theft Auto video this week?" And I was like, "Yep, I am. I hope you're ready for that." And that kind of fueled me to keep going. And then when I got monetized and moved away for school, it became a bit different, but it kind of evolved from that. And now I feel like I'm doing it for a little bit more for myself as well as the greater audience. But my intention is just to do the best I can, regardless.
Yeah, you do have a very active fan base. Like that, the Ask the Choop channel in your server is very active, but also you have a whole account dedicated to you. You have the Choopo Life Twitter account. No, it's a Choopo Life
That's Chupo's
Updates.
health update.
Yeah, that one. How do you feel about that?
I don't mind it. With a lot of channels behind the scenes kind of talk about their fan bases. Yeah, I'm okay with mine. I feel like it's kind of hard to complain with mine. Where they're very, I have a very active, smaller group, but at the same time, I do like messing with my audience a bit. I think it's really fun just to completely mess with them sometimes and just lie or put in a reoccurring bit. I I don't know how to describe it without me sounding horrible, but that is what it is. That is what it is. It's very the audience can be very 50-50. But that just goes with every channel. I do like when I get like fan art or like legitimate like endearment from like DMs or stuff. I do try to read as much as like positive stuff I can from the audience, and I do like try to be as equally attentive to people as possible. But it's just like anything, there's these are real people on both sides, and you just gotta treat others how you want to be treated, I guess is the best way to describe it. Same goes with the audience.
Are you Asian? Because I have in my notes that you know how to speak a bit of Mandarin.
I took Mandarin in school, simplified, but I am not.
Man, I thought I was gonna get that. I thought it was gonna be a gotcha moment for me. Guess not.
No, it was a good question. My pinging is, or not my pinging. What did I say? My tones are inconsistent. That's I wasn't terrific at it, but I did enough to get by.
You always have to say the John Cena ice cream meme like around your friends.
No, we all knew it. We all knew how to say it because my school system was split. So in elementary school we had three schools in our town, like elementary schools, and I think only one of them taught Chinese. The other two taught Spanish. We were the Chinese school, and then in middle school they gave you the option to do either language or do ASL. If I went back, I probably would have done ASL, but my mom was like, "No, you're sticking with Chinese." And I'm gonna be honest, the teachers did not do a very good job. They kind of just repeated the same units across like I want to say 9 years of Chinese classes. So my despite the amount of time I spent learning the language, I simultaneously know nothing and can barely string words other than 我喜欢吃西瓜. I like to eat watermelon.
Nice. Yeah, I was also in a similar boat. I had to take 2 years of Spanish for high school, and like it was required for colleges. But I'm in community right now, but the college I'm going to doesn't even require it. So I kind of did it for no reason because like I didn't really learn anything either. Like I just kind of Google translated everything.
That is weird.
Yeah,
I don't know why they would do that.
Yeah,
but they did it. They did the same thing for me, but it was like for across a greater scale. I mean, in the long run, it was fine, but I don't know. I kind of felt like I wasted my time a little bit. Not gonna lie.
I feel you. Hold on, my camera just kind of spazzed out on me out of nowhere.
No, that's okay. I'm just doodling, so trying to do this.
shoot, I might have to switch my. I'm using like a like a DSLR right now. I might have to like switch cameras.
That's fine.
Uh,
I'm
I'm good now. I'm good now. That was weird. But yeah, so,
kind of embarrassing.
man, what was the meme? Negative 1,000 aura.
That's like, yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah. All right. While my camera's spazzing out, I just want to ask about your plushie. So, what led up to that?
Okay, so wow, I guess that is happening. I did forget about that for just today. So I was making the Wizard 101 series, and I think that was a very big deal. And for me, that was like my big project of 24. I started it in the very end of 2023, and I just now finished it. But I thought, I was like, to celebrate it, I impacted the community quite a lot. I'm like on the radar of the team that makes this game now. All of this stuff. I should make a plush. I think this is a good time to do it, and I think it'll do well enough to have a successful campaign. That was a big fear of mine going into it. I'm like, I sure hope people actually want this, because the last thing I would want to do is live with the thought that I had a failed campaign. Nothing wrong with that. It's just like, that's just how I would see it. But yeah, I made the wizard plush, and I mean, yesterday I got the first like draft of it. I like the direction it's going. I think the people who bought it are gonna enjoy it, but there's still a little bit of fixing that needs to be done.
So, like, the plushie is coming out. Like, the campaign's like, I guess
It's a success.
far.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Do
you have like a set release date for these plushies, or like?
They gave us an estimated date.
Mm-hmm.
I'm planning a special video for February. February is going to be a nice little time for the channel, I think, because of I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a few projects that are being worked on right now behind the scenes that I did, and if all goes well, I would say, February in specific, February 2025 will be a nice little nifty month for Choopo fans, and I think that we're planning on finishing the makeshift campaign for February.
Right. And so on your Twitter, you always have like these like screenshots of you doing movie nights with, how do you pronounce his name? Terror?
Okay, so
yeah.
We have a group chat, and this is a very common thing, I would say, just to have like a nice little content creator networking thing. So I'm working on an Airbud video, and this is like known by the audience. I don't know. Currently, it's slated for January, unless something happens and I have to push it forward or backward. It should be fine though. The script is done. And I message two people in specific, Terror and Nomad. Nomad being a friend of mine who is at 20K right now, and they've been there since the start. Honestly, like, they knew about my channel before I even hit like 300 subs. So I was like, you guys want to watch Airbud, and then we can invite people. And then they're like, yeah, let's just have a movie night every Monday. So every Monday, I come home from my classes and some other stuff, and we, whoever joins, we just watch a movie. It's like that. So yesterday it was a good amount of people. The usuals: me, Terror, Chewy Dog, Nomad, Papo. He was new. He was very nice. It's as much of a professional thing as it is just like, nice people watching a movie, I would say.
How'd that connection come to be? Because Terror is also a pretty big name too. Like, recently, his video about slop content just blew up too.
Yeah, I did see that. I was like, oh, that's neat. He was talking about it. He was worrying a little bit behind the scenes, but I kind of had a little bit of a feeling that he was going to be fine. And lo and behold, he did good. But gosh, how do I say this? Yeah, I guess the best way to describe it is that he literally just DM'd me and was like, "Why does your profile picture look so scary, but your banner picture looks so normal?" And then I was like, "I don't know." And then it just kind of hit off from there. And I'll just kind of talk a little bit more often. It's just stuff like that, you know. When you get to a point where this was really weird, and I didn't even notice this until it was like already happening. When channels you watch start watching your content without you knowing,
Mm-hmm.
it's like so surreal to find out they actually did watch it. Like your SpongeBob horror recap.
What about the SpongeBob horror recap?
I watched it before you contacted me.
Oh, how was it?
I liked it. It was
Like, wait,
good
was it
noise.
before I DM'd you, or was it just like you just watched it like
It
after
was
you got
before.
messaged?
It was before. It was completely unrelated.
Wow.
So hey, you never know. It's stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
though, or it's like you don't know until they directly message you or tell you like, hey, I already know who you are. It's
Wow.
like that type of thing.
Okay, that's actually really crazy. Like, wow, Choopo watched my video before I messaged him. That's like an insane feeling now. That's
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. It's stuff like that where it's uh you know it's a nice surreal feeling, and I, yeah, no other way to put it.
Yeah, and that's also like how I feel about like having this show because you and like everyone else too, like Raymundo, Shy Valley, like Jaden Salads, Adrian Gasly, even like my next guest after you, like Scumbagovich, like all you guys I've been watching since like at least maybe 2022, 2023. Now I just have like most of you guys on speed dial. Like a lot of them do follow me back on Instagram. So it's just kind of like just weird. Or like not even like weird, it's just like yeah, like you said, surreal. It's just like now these YouTubers you watched are almost your friends in a way.
Well, you did send us all threats, so I wouldn't. I
You don't expose that. You can have that on camera.
no, this is entirely 100% true. I'm serious. Viewers, I'm a little bit nervous right now. Nah, it's all good. I gotta clarify that because honestly, I don't know how literally everything I say becomes a reality. That's another thing where it's just anything you say. Sometimes people will think like online or as a creator in a video, people will like be like, "Oh, you gotta talk about that now." If you make one joke about it, there's a reoccurring one with me. There's one I'm saying this openly because I genuinely never ever gonna talk about this because I have zero interest in it. It's this game called Cookie Run.
Oh, I remember that name.
Yeah, and I keep getting like requests, and I'm sure it would do well. I'm sure it would get like 500,000 views within like a year, but I just do not. I do not care. I do not want to talk about Cookie Run.
So are all your like essay topics like are they all like stuff that resonated with you, or is it just like you'll pick yeah like you'll just pick whatever like comes to mind?
It's the mix of both. I mentioned the spreadsheet earlier. This where I have all my like evil little like planning and scheduling for to be productive, and I know in advance the type of stuff I want to talk about. I have roughly the next 4 months kind of decided in advance. Nothing else there to it. It's just me going like, oh, I want to talk about Rayman, and so I'll do that here. It's that type of stuff.
I also want to bring up your meme account, your second Instagram account. So like
Oh
so
yeah.
like where'd that come from, and how is it like running that? Because I assume that was way before your channel.
No, that's actually a good question, or like a very good question about that. So on Instagram, I have a account that was originally Choopo, but now it's Choopo V2. It was essentially a little place where I would just post and repost memes because it's easier to start growing on Instagram, but then it's like harder to monetize off of it. The you God, how do I just I keep forgetting it. I'm a little bit. I have a little bit of stage fright. I would say TikTok is the hardest to like make money off of, but then it's also like very easy to grow. I guess so. It's like that type of stuff where depending on what app you use, you grow at it. It's easier to grow on them. So what happened was YouTube, I was not doing well, and then Instagram, I got like 3K followers. So I'm like, I'm gonna keep doing this, and then I'm gonna promote my YouTube videos because YouTube was always the one I was the most interested in. But
You're all good. You're all good. Yeah, it was still recording for you. It just like it just kicked me out for some reason.
oh, okay.
Yeah, but you're all good. Like everything you said. Yeah.
So is it everything good on your end?
I don't know. My camera just kind of like it just keeps like freaking out. It's tweaking out of nowhere. I might have to just switch to my like normal like web camera.
I mean, that's okay. I'm making like stupendous, incredible drawings, so it's perfectly acceptable.
All right, Ryan. I guess you could edit uh explain this somehow. All right, I'm gonna join back in.
Yeah, just let me know when you're all better. Oh, I'm by myself. That's not good. La, la, la.
I'm all good. Were you saying anything
Okay.
while I was like faded out?
Um. Yeah. Not much though.
And you said like I just want to ask another thing is like much of your life came.
You're that didn't pick up.
I didn't pick up. Shoot.
Nope.
Hold on. I'll just refresh again. But I'll just...
Wow. Okay. Okay. Let's see how it is.
Gotta do this now. But yeah, I was asking about like you like being like big into Newgrounds. You have like any projects from Newgrounds you were a fan of?
That's been unrelated. Okay, so yeah, I would say I was a new grounder. And I know I had this bad habit, and I didn't really stop doing it until like only about 5 years ago. I would just never make accounts on anything, so all of my old information is just not preserved. I used to think making accounts was like this taboo, forbidden thing that my family was super against and didn't like me doing. So with Newgrounds, I would just watch like whatever came up. I watched a lot of Psychic Pedals, Zach Hadel content, Chris O'Neill, Herbifer. I know these names aren't like super liked in some crowds, but the fact of the matter is, I just liked Newgrounds content. I liked the idea of web animation. Just like, oh wait, anyone can do this. That's kind of neat. I didn't really play any of the games though. I was mostly just watching like the animations, like that type of stuff, or like whatever was on the top of the leaderboard.
All right, and let's get to the beginning of your channel. So to start off, like in the beginning of your channel, you have videos of you playing Octodad, Surgeon Simulator, and Risk of Rain 2.
Yeah, so that's technically not true, but I guess nobody knows that anymore because it was never properly documented. I still have the files though, but I just don't refuse to share them because honestly, I don't. They're more personal now. Maybe someday I'll go back and like share them with the audience, see if they're into that possibility. But yeah, it was post-pandemic happens. I got interested in video making because of that, and just wanting to share something cool with my friends. I make a couple of Minecraft and GTA videos, and this is all in January. And then March of that year, I made the Octodad video. And so I kept the Octodad video around because it was independent, it was its own thing. But that's technically like the 12th video I made. And then I would just keep playing games with friends. I would keep recording them. Videos would be anywhere from like 3 to 10 minutes. But they were produced weekly, and so they weren't like too effortful, and a lot of the context was gone because a lot of it was inside jokes. That was before I realized like, oh, the greater audience needs to understand what's going on for them to make sense.
And since you have 3 Risk of Rain videos, were you almost like a Risk of Rain channel?
I was closer to it. I had a big phase in summer of 22, right before Papa's happened. And this was before I really got into the rhythm of producing videos on a continuous basis. So like Papa's, for example, I had that idea for like 9 months, and I just never acted upon it because I kept wanting to redo it, and I didn't know how to like properly make this into the video. From that, I kind of learned like the process behind it, getting into the rhythm, the idea that like if you want this, you have to work for it as much as like continue your passion for it. But with Risk of Rain in specific, I kept those videos because I thought they were the most story-like, I guess. But then also I did the ranking Risk of Rain item video because I thought it would just be like a fun little gimmick video idea.
And then after that, we have all your animations like the folder color debate and the worst possible series. So we want to just go through like the history of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so worst possible. I'm honestly shocked that I don't have like more of my fans watch those because I think that gave a lot of idea of like the creativity behind it and the evolution of it was cool. So for context, this was about 40 minutes of animated content that I produced across 2022, and I say animated with quotations. I would not necessarily say it was like good quality animation. I would just say it was like PNG content, but it was me essentially learning how to make a coherent story or episode. And that was before like the Choopo channel or show, whatever you want to call it, became more formulaic and more digestible for an average viewer. But I essentially I would say like once a month I would ask a few of my friends to get on Discord, and I would have a script ready, and I'd have them all record stuff via Discord call, not together, like the exact opposite of what you would regularly do for that type of stuff. And then I would crop the audio, draw the backgrounds, do the thumbnails, all of that business. But essentially, it was me being inspired by those new ground people and those channels that I grew up with, that I was inspired by, that made me feel better and made like me continue going on through my days, like even if I was upset or having a hard time, and learning how to get into that rhythm. That was essentially my New Ground series. That was my to where I am now, I would say. And I'm as thankful for it as I am I look at it where it's like it's not very good, but it's important. Not just for me as a person, but for the brand behind it.
And in your zoo video, you have a baboon character, and that became a mascot in your channel. You want to just talk about that?
That is true. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Bobo the baboon. This is one thing I gotta complain with my audience for. You guys they gotta make more stuff for the non-Choopo character, or just Choopo stuff in general, fan art wise and stuff. That's like the good indicator of like, do people enjoy Bobo? This was my favorite character. I got my friend who voiced Brett in the Worst Possible series to make a monkey sound once, and I'm like, that's funny. I'm gonna reuse it. And I made a video on it in like one afternoon in a car, because like on a road trip, and it's not like super great, but I thought it was one of the funnier videos I did. So I'm like, I like this baboon character. I'm gonna reuse him a few times. So then I made my favorite video of like the Worst Possible videos was the attack, where it's literally just 3 minutes of Bobo screaming. That's it. It's just like running around and attacking people, and I thought that was the funniest shit in the world. So I like to implement him into videos. I would like to bring back all of this stuff from Worst Possible. I set up a story there. It's kind of in the background technically. I have ideas to where it could branch, but I also am like, I don't think my audience watches it enough to contextualize anything, so I just would pick and choose things to keep. And I kept Bobo because I thought Bobo was the funniest and had the most story potential, but I also think he's cursed.
So it's like the Worst Possible series, is that like done, or would you ever like bring it back? Maybe even like, I guess like in the background of your videos when you're explaining some kind of game, you can like have like a small segment part of that series, and then like eventually build it up to some like finale. I think I'll compare it to like that whole SpongeBob conspiracy theory channel. Like they had the SpongeBob theories, and then they had that whole ARG in the back that's going on. Like, would you ever do something like that?
Yeah, nobody's found the first clue though. I already announced I have an ARG.
Nice. All right, everyone in the comments, just talk about the whole Choopo lore.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Bizarre lore of Choopo. I'm never doing that.
Bizarre lore of Choopo.
I say with, yeah, I keep it. That's like a big request I get, where people are like, "Can you make bizarre lore of Choopo?" I don't want to do. I feel like that's just a little bit pretentious. with all due respect, I don't think I myself can do it. I think if someone else did it and came to their own conclusions and just mirrored what I did, but with my content, I would watch it, I would support it, I would leave a comment. But for the life of me, I would not make a lore story on myself. I feel like that's just a bit excessive. That's like the number one request I get.
I was actually gonna name this video "The Bizarre Lore of Choopo" because like all the video titles for this podcast, it's like all parodies of like other YouTubers stuff. Like Caleb is salty. He did the Minecraft kids content
Yeah, you
one.
could do that. Yeah, I would recommend it. I would recommend you do that, or do one of those alliteration titles. I do commonly. But to answer your original question regarding the worst possible and regarding continuing it, I don't think I can. It's just like I had a horrible story when I made the finale on that. It was the worst possible heist. It was a 7-minute long video. It took me about 4 days to produce. There was a giant snowstorm. I felt like I was wasting my time and my money, and it was like miserable to make. But I was like, I gotta have this last video. I gotta make this last one, and then I'm done with it. But the truth is, this is where unfortunately the business aspect of YouTube came in. It didn't perform as well, and even if it didn't, it wasn't making as much money as like to sustain me and my tuition as like Papa's was, or the PVZ video at that time. And then also I was producing less content, I was having less fun with it, and I had to rely on more people who were getting busier and busier with their respective lives, that I just couldn't do it anymore. And I try to implement those aspects. I'm starting to slowly but surely bring in more and more of like those worst possible bits. A Wizard 101 was a good example of that. That was a lot of practice with me, like implementing the Wizard 101 characters in these interactions. And now that I'm better at them, I like doing stuff like that, and I will probably continue to do that, like semi-adjacent animation content.
So then, like after your worst possible, we get to like the start where it really kicks off, the Papa's Pizza video. So like, what led up to that, and like just making like a video essay after making a bunch of gameplay, and your animation series.
This was easily the way I figured out how to just like get more successful on YouTube. There were two main things, and both of them were implemented into the Papa's video. I still have no idea why that video got 6 million views. I think compared to a lot of the videos on the channel, that one should not have gotten 6 million views. I'm shocked it is. But I can't be upset about it, because that is why I am here today. And it was a mix of me realizing, oh wait, almost nobody has done this. Also, I just wanted to do it. I think a big part of YouTube is that most people don't do both of those things. They need it, if you want to be successful on it as like a personality, the easiest ways to do it is do something that nobody else is doing, but then also still something you want to do. Or otherwise you're going to be caught in a divot that you hate. I'm doing a main channel where it's all this stuff I want to talk about. Even if a video does bad, I still deliberately really wanted to talk about that topic. I'm working on a second channel as well, where it's going to be more of the same, but it's going to be a little bit more personal. It's not going to be like lore recaps. It's going to be more retrospective-y, I would say. We have about 4 videos in production there. I got an editor for that channel. And we're working on it behind the scenes, but it's like, to do well on YouTube, you have to enjoy it, you have to want it, and you have to try. You have to keep going even if you fall down. And that goes with anything. And with Papa's, after 3 drafts, after getting these worst possible videos, most of them never even got over 200 views. This one comes out, and out of nowhere, after 3 weeks, it goes from 2,000 views to 4 million.
And what was like your reaction to that? Like, because that, of course, you stuck with that format, but also like all of a sudden, like this one video that was different from your rest, it just blows up. So like,
I
yeah.
woke up one day and I was like, huh, wait, that's weird. I just got 14 subscribers while I was sleeping last night. And at this point, if you look at like my Social Blade or whatever, that never happened. I was getting that many subs a month if I was lucky. So throughout the day, I'm like, I'm going on my analytics and I'm going, oh my god, 12,000 live viewers. And I just kept refreshing to see the number go up, see all these new comments, see like my sub count go up, like 5 subs a minute. And then within a day, I was already at 1,000. And then a week later, I was already at 10,000. And I'm like, oh, I'm monetized now. 2 weeks ago, I was at 400. Now I'm at 30,000. It was that I just didn't know what to do. And it was a great feeling. It's a feeling I've yet to truly feel again. And I don't think I will ever feel it again. Because it was just like a huge success. And that was such a moment for me.
So then, with like all your topics that you pick, like you said earlier, you try to do topics that you like no one else has ever talked about. So when it comes to a topic that maybe there has been like 1 or 2 other videos on, like how do you like put your own spin on such a topic?
So first off, I would not watch the video until after. I would just so I would have my own unique thoughts, and this still goes for today. Every time I have a video idea, I look it up first to see if anyone else has done it, and if anyone has, if I can implement my own spin to it. Because if not, I can just scrap it. Like I have so many video ideas, but there's only so much time as of now that I would want to do it. But then I would get like a second opinion to watch both videos. And then be like, is this gonna be an issue? Are people gonna accuse me? And they're like, and then if they say like probably not, I would go forward with it. I had one situation with goldfish crackers where they were like, this one video is a bit too similar to yours, and I was like, okay, maybe I can work around this and make something different. But yeah, honestly, that's like a very good way if you're coming up with topics. You just want to do something that nobody else has, and it will work wonders. You want to either something that is so outdated or completely untouched. That's why Papa's worked, because it was outdated. It was super outdated, and then everyone wanted to watch it. And now I'm the lore guy, so if I make one, it will for sure get like 50k views, so that's good.
And to add on to that, there have been duplicate or clone channels of like they do similar content to you, even like do like the same exact titles as you, where like they'll take a random, let's say, animation, movie, or video game, and kind of like do what you do, just explain it in their own wacky way. So like, how do you feel about like all those clone channels?
I forgot what the exact name of it was. There's like an innovator graph that I kind of look into. It's like the technology adoption life cycle. It's something adjacent to that, where there's it might be unrelated, but that's just how I perceived it. Where it's like innovators versus adopters. The fact of the matter is, regardless of what you do, and not even just on YouTube, but entertainment as a whole, if you have a successful idea, there are competitors who will try to do the exact same thing, no matter what. The problem with YouTube is that it's normalized, so that if a channel does copy them, as long as YouTube is still getting money, they do not care, because they're still being owned under the same IP. I've looked at a few of them, the quote-unquote clone channels, and I would say my issue is that they're hurting themselves by trying to be like a clone channel, quote-unquote. When I think YouTube is at its best when it's creativity bound, when it's like these people are entirely unique. And unfortunately, YouTube also rewards people who do the exact same things as other channels. Nothing wrong with doing that. There isn't anything wrong. I know of a few channels that would do like adjacent lore videos, or like do thumbnails similar to mine because my thumbnails were successful. There's no issue there. I don't see an issue there as long as it's not something that's inherently like quote unquote stepping on my turf, I guess. But that's just with YouTube as a whole. It becomes a whole genre. I'm sure in a few years, if Choopo like really does well, there's gonna be at least a couple channels that are in the 100,000s that got their start doing what I did. But again, I had to work for it. I had to establish this niche type of formula, and now it's a little bit easier to get into it. Not to sound pretentious, but that is just like how YouTube rewards content creation like that. Another good example is like the Let's Players. Let's Players is such a good example of that, where it's people who, you know, you're playing a game. Like, it's kind of hard to elevate that content. But you know, YouTube rewards it if you do your own spin on it, or if you're funny, or sometimes it's luck of the draw. But overall, it's not too big of an issue, I would say. I would just think like I hope I have the audience who prefers my content at the very least. Though I have no quarrels with these channels, I do hope they find their own voice and own ambitions to be a content creation if that's what they choose to be and choose to do.
Yeah, because for me, it's like, because like with my solo channel, like a lot of my like personal stuff is like based around like Wendigoon, like Tuv, like all those guys. Like my most recent video, like I kind of looked back at that one. I was like, man, I kind of don't like this anymore because I realized I was trying to be way too similar to people like, yeah, Tuv or Nick Crowley with the whole like top 10. I was like Legoland disasters. I said, I was like,
Oh yeah,
I was like, I thought I was like listing down all like the Legoland incidents, like the whole like format, like the layout was based on Tubbs, but the whole like visuals with like the VCR that was based on like Nick Crowley or Nexpo. And I kind of look back at that one as like, man, I kind of don't like this anymore. I kind of don't like this anymore because I was just trying way too hard to be them. And I was like almost scrapped that video because I was just like, this is not fun anymore.
Yeah, no, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, finding out what you want to do and what you like, that's a good way to do it. And okay, when I started out, I was trying to be Swagger Souls. I was trying to be the next Swagger Souls. That was a big channel I liked watching growing up, with the captions, that type of stuff, to give a better idea of like channels I wanted to do. That's kind of like the inspiration I had starting out. And then I kind of realized that, you know, that maybe that wasn't my thing. Maybe I'm not that funny at like improv stuff. I'm a little bit better at prepared content, I think, but that's a variable. And there's nothing wrong with figuring it out and deciding to switch it up. The problem a lot of people fall into is they get too far gone, or they like they do it too late, so now they're just stuck with it. I'm fortunate enough to where my content is like very similar to what I would be okay with talking about. Where I just think it's like funny to summarize these stories and make fun of them because because it's just like silly and pointless to an extent. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with changing it up. It's just don't get stuck if you're unhappy with it, because then you really can't get out, and then you're in trouble.
So out of like like for your videos, like what's like the research process behind like making these videos, and then of course translating it into a script, and then like editing it into a video?
So that's a really good question. So what I would do is, first off, when I figure out what I want to talk about, I bullet point it, or I ask someone in the community if they would be interested in helping. And it depends on what genre it is primarily as well. For example, if it's a game, let's talk about Rabbids in the situation. Rabbids is a good video that kind of explains my process. So I would do I would look at the wiki and just the timeline, the official of content, like everything there is Rabbid adjacent, and then I would put that down on a bullet point in Google Doc. And then from there, I would go through like each respective thing or property, and then I would just write more bullet points for that. Make a script out of each respective segment and summarize that. I'm sorry, this is unrelated. Are you hearing that noise that's getting picked up on my end?
What is it?
No, I just want to check. If you hear any noise on my end, I apologize.
There's no noise on your end. If anything, there's probably noise on my end because there's like.
No, you're fine.
All right.
Sorry for the caught up.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, so I bullet point that. I cut that down, and then I lost my train of thought for that. Yeah, but excuse me, just a second.
You're good.
Very sorry about that.
You're good.
There was something out there that was. So you just cut that out. And
Ryan cut that out.
Back.
Yeah, Ryan, if you're editing this part, just cut it out.
Yeah, Ryan. God. Okay, so yeah, let me rephrase that real quick.
Yeah, you're talking about bullet points, like making bullet points.
Bullet points, and then I go through each respective game and show and like summarize that. Maybe I rewatch the cutscenes. Very rarely do I actually replay the games. Because sometimes you don't need to do that, but I do like get the cutscenes, and then because cutscenes are where most of the story lies. But usually with all the content I talk about, I do like already have background knowledge on it in advance. So I summarize that, get it all done. If it's a show or a movie, I'll rewatch it. Not fully. Movie I'll watch fully. Show, usually I don't watch it all the way through unless it's like necessary, which to this point I think has only happened with Talking Tom, and even then it wasn't particularly bad. And then I script that. Eventually I get to a point where I don't like timing my videos or like having a time frame of how long each respective video needs to be, so I just do it until the script is done. And then I record it, trim the audio, make a background, make a thumbnail, and edit it from there. I use DaVinci Resolve.
So what do you do when a game's like lore is very lackluster or ambiguous?
I cut it. I just do not make a video on it. Or I see if I can make it into a smaller video. Bizarre Lore is that's like the big series. That's what's the most successful. But to strain myself and make sure I don't just get typecasted as exclusively making Bizarre Lores forever, I do try to make one non-Bizarre Lore video like a month as my average. And I would say I'm doing a pretty good job on that. They usually perform a little worse, but that's okay. I'm not too upset about that. But if they can't be like super long videos, I'll just cut them down into like the Duolingo one. That's a good example. This is a 11-minute video that is just like a brief summary of doing like and collection of jokes adjacent to it. It didn't need to be a full Bizarre Lore.
How about for non-canon material?
I do a funny thing, and this to an extent bothers my audience. I would say I ignore it. I completely ignore the fact it's non-canon, and I do it anyway because I think that's funnier. A good example, Kung Fu Panda. The shows are considered non-canon. And talking about them and considering them canon is borderline blasphemy for the Kung Fu Panda fans. And I deliberately ignore that because I think it's funnier to consider it canon.
You consider the fourth one canon?
The fourth movie is for sure canon.
Do you like it though?
I'd say it's the weakest one. I would say Kung Fu Panda 3 has higher highs and lower lows, whereas Kung Fu Panda 4 is more in the middle. And I mainly say that because I genuinely hate Panda Village. I think Panda Village is the worst addition to Kung Fu Panda. I'm fully serious on that. It has been 9 months since I made that video. Or no, 6 months, excuse me. No, it is 9 months. I'm crazy. I still don't like them. I never did. I thought it was the worst part of the movie. I was like, that's why Kung Fu Panda 2 is the best one, but that doesn't matter.
Do you have like a personal favorite out of all your... It doesn't even have to be the Bizarre Lore, just any of your videos you've made.
Any of my videos,
yeah.
Okay. At the end of every year, I like to do a tier list of my videos. and I do like physically make it out because this helps me practice and realize, why did I like making these videos more?
Mm-hmm.
Did they do better? And if so, what can I do for the following videos in the future? And that's what I did for 2023 going into 2024. And I had a very good 2024. But I would say overall, if I had to pick my favorite, Kung Fu Panda is very good. That is up there. I really enjoyed the Tricks Rabbit one, just because of the ending of it. There was a bit I cut at the end of that one, though, where it was going to be Terror was going to cameo and like call me like a bunch of mean names for yelling at him. He was going to be a waiter. And then I cut it out, but because it wasn't funny, and it kind of ruined the pacing. Overall, my favorite video is going currently by itself would be Kung Fu Panda. However, I'm planning on releasing a Wizard 101 compilation, like all 3 videos combined. Technically, I would say that'll be my favorite.
How about your least favorite?
Of in general, or like what's available publicly?
It could be either or.
Okay. I made an Apex Legends video. I really, really, really hated it. Even this day. The second I launched it, that one's besides the point. I would say of my successful videos, anything above 300k, I would say, or no, not even 300k. Anything above 100k, 100k views. My least favorites were probably. I wish Snakes and Ladders did better, but I did. Yeah, that one didn't really resonate with me or anyone else, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And then that Tricks Rabbit one upsets me because I love that one, and that one's not doing terrific. I have this video, why Candyland is conceptually impossible. That is, I made probably one of the smartest moves ever on complete accident. I had like a weird feeling that Papa's was gonna start doing really well when I saw it like hit a few thousand.
Mm-hmm.
So I made that Candyland video, so I would have something like right out as it did well. And to give an idea of how inexperienced I was using a Blue Yeti mic, and I brought it home and brought it back to my campus. I recorded the entire video with the mic facing the wrong way.
Man.
And I was so inexperienced, I didn't recognize it and re-record it until after the video was already uploaded. And it got 590k views as of speaking today.
Wow. And
I get so many complaints. I've gotten so many negative comments about that video. And I'm like, this was super avoidable, and that's my own fault. That's probably the funniest thing I've ever done, and I hate that video for it forever. Mm-hmm. It could have been a fantastic video, but I don't like it.
All right. And like, I also noticed that you make shorts for your videos, and these aren't just like clips. You actually like make these fresh. So how is that like, just balancing that out with like your content? And has these shorts like helped you boost?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, the shorts are very 50-50. YouTube's kind of been changing up how they do it, because the 3-minute thing is kind of ruining it for me. Essentially, I wanted to make more content on the other social medias, so I would have that growth. That way, just in case anything happened to my YouTube channel for any reason, I would still have those backups maybe. But even though I could just like complain to them directly, it's kind of normal in this field to have like Twitter and TikTok on standby to complain to YouTube when anything goes wrong. But I made the shorts starting last year. I got a shorts editor to make them weekly, and it just works out from there.
So how's your relationship with these editors? Are they like these guys you found off like social media, or like they're like personal friends of yours? Are you like constantly in contact with them?
They're people I know in advance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the networking aspect, just with any sort of business or like entrepreneur thing, or you just YouTube. It's like those connections will help you in the long run. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I knew one of the editors in advance. I knew the other one. I've known both of them for a couple of years before I even asked them. So that kind of helped. Maybe down the line I can hire people. I thought if I want to hire people, I would want to hire like students or people who need internships. Mm-hmm. Like get that experience in, because YouTube really isn't that like straining or like educationally, like you're learning super high in-depth things, but it's a good thing to teach like people who are getting more experience with it or want to increase their portfolio. But I would say I do an okay job. I do not consider myself too terrific of a leader. I'm more of a instigator type when it comes to both making the content and like acting in it. And I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, that brings up another question I have because surprisingly you've made a lot of like collaborations with other YouTubers, and I have a list of them. You have, I don't know how to pronounce this, Jack Cox 98. We have Nomad, Jake Miller, Jaden Salads, which we've talked about, Ali Tricasso, and then Sten's charity event. So like what makes you like just willing to like work with these other creators?
Well, normally it's a very simple process. Usually they ask, and then it's a yeah. For me at least, I don't like collabing with people in my videos unless I can specifically have like a joke or setup with them in mind. Like it would only make sense if this person was here, or like they would fit the best. I don't want to put like one random channel in here just because they asked. I want to do something that would be a little bit correlated to it, and I think that would be funnier. But with most of them, they were just people I already knew, and was like, yeah, that probably won't be terrible to do. You know, get that extra exposure out. Most of them though I met through YouTube or just like through those connections. And there's only a couple of them. I don't really think it's my place to say how or where that's not the case.
Is there anyone you'd want to work with?
Oh yeah, of course. You know, just waiting for the day I get those opportunities to. I guess when it comes to, I would love to have like a giant thing. I thought about it like any self-respecting content creator does. It's like, what do I want to do at 1 million? And at 1 million, I would just want to get like as many like out of unrelated people as possible because I think it'd be funny. I would love to have Matt, Pat, and Specific show up. I doubt it will ever happen. But you know what? Yeah.
I never thought I'd have you this soon either. I was talking to Jane, is like, how are we gonna have Choopo on the show? But like, here it is, working out.
Well, I did see all those. I mean, you left those horrible threads.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean,
dude, you don't leak that.
Well, my safety was at risk. So,
do you have like any personal favorite YouTubers right now that you're watching?
Right now, I'm gonna try to be unbiased by this. I'm not gonna any person I know or have contact with. I'm gonna remove them from like the pool of people. Like if I know they know of me, automatic. Like I'm not gonna count them. I had one and then I immediately forgot it. Coney. That's a Nintendo streamer or Nintendo adjacent. I think that's my favorite streamer. I would love for him to react to my content sometime. Kadikarus is another one that comes to mind. I don't think enough of my audience picks up on like how, to an extent, we are similar in content creation. Not by a lot, but you know, I look at their stuff and I'm like, I want to do that. Ted Nivison, Eddie Birdback,
good one.
I listen to Hugbees a lot as background noise.
Hugbees is pretty good too. I used to listen to the official podcast, then Charlie left.
Oh yeah. Podcast isn't really my thing, but good on you. Lythero is another favorite of mine. Michael Reeves, when he actually uploads, you know, those are always nice little videos to sit down and watch.
Nice.
And just, God, it is really weird how many of them I would like actually have contact with now. Being like, oh, this person I can't do. I'm very, on my main account that I use for YouTube, I have one that's me being like, oh, I know this person, I'll subscribe to them. And then there's one where it's like I exclusively am subscribed to content I enjoy.
What was the one that shocked you the most out of like YouTubers like you were a fan of and now like they acknowledge you and you're just as like in association and contact now?
I think trying to think of one that was like, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting them to show up and like contact me at all. Okay, 24 frames of Nick. He seemed like a nice enough fella. He contacted me and complimented me on a video, and I was like, okay, I like that. That was very nice of him. I should stress this. I try to avoid any sort of drama or even pay attention to it, because for me personally, I do this because I love what I do, and I don't want to be caught in any sort of controversy like that. I just want to just stay in my lane to an extent and make silly videos and make people feel better.
Real. And what was your reaction to Cool Math Games following you on Instagram?
Okay, first off, that was the first time a brand actually followed me back on something like that. So I was like, they seemed very nice. Their entire team seems like interested enough. They seem very genuine. Like I can tell that there is a person that is working here, and like they're doing a pretty good job. I was like, oh, that's neat. Like that's actually what happened. That was literally just me going, that's cool. And nobody else has ever followed me back. Papa's team, they never followed me back. I still remember that day. The Wizard 101 team, they followed me. Or no, they didn't follow me. They added me to their extra credits program, which is essentially their content creator program, where they have like any channel who makes Wizard 101 or Pirate 101 content. They added me to their roster, but they have not followed me back on anything. And I think that's funny. Like respective team members have, but not the main account.
If there was a team that could like be in contact with you, which one would you want them? Well, which one do you want to be in contact with you?
Like frequent contact?
Yeah, like any of like the out of the videos you've done, like which of like their teams would you want like to like have you like in contact with you and start working with you?
Easily Wizard 101. That's one I spent the most time with. It would make the most logical sense for me to talk to them. There's a lot that I have a lot of strong feelings about that game, positive and negative. And I know that there is heart there as much as there is like attempts to grow into this greater thing. And I got very interested and passionate about Wizard 101 over this year because I had to spend hundreds and hundreds of hours making 3 videos over it. And as such, I want to see the game make it out. And I think they're going to do that, maybe, to an extent. They're releasing Wizard 101 on consoles, and they are doing some merch, and they just added like more content. So I actually, when I do the full compilation, I'm gonna add more content to it to recap that.
Nice. And I think we're gonna start wrapping it up. So I'm gonna ask you a bunch of bullet questions. So your favorite cartoon?
Yeah, go for it. Favorite cartoon? Regular Show's pretty good. I would say that's up there.
Cool. All right. Favorite albums, artists, or songs?
Unironically, I'm one of those people who listen to like instrumental music and like very rarely actually any sort of Spotify. I don't have Spotify actually. I just like listen to whatever's conveniently on, and then I have like a really screwed up YouTube mix, so I can't really comment otherwise.
Your favorite food?
Favorite food? I like a good beef, a good steak. Maybe even a spaghetti. Thai food's also up there. Making a video on that on the second channel, like a last meal talk.
Your favorite video game of all time? Because I have a list of like what you said were your favorites. Like I'm gonna make you narrow it down to one.
Breath of the Wild is the only open world game that I've replayed 3 times deliberately and voluntarily. So I would say that one. That's a very good one.
What do you think about Tears of the Kingdom?
I think Tears of the Kingdom is good, and I think people are too mean on it.
Are you a Nintendo, PlayStation, or Xbox guy?
Technically, I grew up a Nintendo and PlayStation guy both. I am anti-Microsoft. That's all that matters.
All right, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I got into this argument in the hypothetical, but I would say, unironically, if you shapeshift, you can shapeshift into other people, and you would get their attributes. If I shapeshift into Usain Bolt, I would get his Usain Bolt speed. So by that logic, if I could shapeshift into any other person, and if anyone else gets superpowers, then I get their superpowers if I shapeshift into them. That is my logic, and I'm arguing, and I'm sticking with that.
All right. If there's anywhere in the world you could go visit, where would it be?
Just classic, good old classic Japan. You know, it's kind of hard to say anything else.
All right, nice. And then we'll go start on our segment. So I have this segment at the end of every show, called Mariana Sketch. I give a fun fact about a random marine animal, and you have to draw that marine animal in under a minute. So your marine animal is a horseshoe crab. And a fun fact.
No, time out. What does that look like?
You can have a reference image.
Okay.
Yeah, and a fun fact about horseshoe crabs is that horseshoe crabs have existed for 445 million years.
Why did you give me the horseshoe crab?
I'm trying to get a whack here. Like I had, because I went backwards. I had Raymundo did a manta ray. Then I had Jaden Salads doing a clownfish. Then it was Caleb Salty doing a. Yeah. Wait.
It's so hard. What do I do?
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
You think that one's gonna be a hard one? I feel like it's just one circle and a tail.
Yeah. When you told me we could draw fish, I was like, oh, I can do whatever I want. I'm going to draw a sunfish. I'm not drawing a sunfish. I'm drawing a crab. All right. When's the timer start?
Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, just let me know when you're ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
And your timer has started.
They have a weird little tail thing, so I'm gonna give it that. And then they have little nubs, and then they have I'm gonna give mine little eyes, and now I need to color it. This is. I don't like how much time I have. Oh God, I'm halfway done.
30 seconds left.
Okay. I don't like this game. It's scary. Okay, how much time? 15 seconds.
10 seconds left.
Okay, I made I did okay.
All right, and you can just send it over to Discord whenever you're ready.
Okay, here we go. Wait, it didn't load.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you know, but all of these are going into an aquarium. My friend's animating.
Oh yeah, I saw. I saw that part.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, wow, that's nice. You did the Pokemon Kabuto. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, they yeah, it's Kabuto.
Awesome. So yeah, it's how was it like being on your first podcast?
Oh yeah, technically it's a good way to learn how to do it, I would say. I think, Jaden brought up a good point about this. He said that these are good time capsules, or I think that was someone else.
That was Jaden who said that.
Okay, yeah, I would say that. I would say this is a good way to look back, and hopefully I am proud of who I was and who I become. And I think that I just want to make videos that people enjoy, and I hope that continues to be the case. With that being said, thank you for having me, and thank you to anybody at home watching as well.
Yeah.
I appreciate this opportunity, and honestly, I felt like I had a little bit of a slow start. I did appreciate the warm up. Throughout this, it was very nice. You did a good job.
Thank you. And do you want to plug in your stuff?
Yeah. Let me just say, Choopo, CHOOPO. If you're not coming from me and you found this all by yourself, or you're a regular watcher, why don't you give me a watch? And then also, I guess this will technically be the first time I announce it publicly. There is a second channel that is being produced, and it's going to be called Choopo Tupo. And if you don't like my main content, that's all right. Maybe you'll like the second one though.
Awesome.
And then I'm on Twitter, Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, some other thing, Google Plus probably, Discord. Yeah, Discord server as well. I think that came up. That'll do it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, just thanks for coming on. Again, this was a very I wouldn't expect you to have. I'm just stuttering. I didn't expect to have you on so soon. Like I said at the beginning of the video, you were someone I've been watching for at least a year now, and it's just yeah, I just really liked your stuff, and I love talking to you because you actually gave us the longest episode by far too. So like I really like seeing like this other side of you, like beyond like the YouTube videos. Like that's what I like about doing this show. It's like I'm just talking to my favorite creators. I'm like seeing this other side of them. And it's like more than just like I said this in the Caleb is Salty episode, but it's like it's more than just me recording an interview with like my favorite YouTubers. It's also just like how can I apply that to like my own content? It's like I like to imagine the cameras are off, pretty much. So yeah, just thanks again for coming on, just agreeing to all this.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, but I had a nice little time, nice. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, thanks again, Choopo, and thanks to the audience. Go check us out, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and yeah, shout out Ryan and Dis for editing and animating these parts. And yeah, Finn,